Hey, Sean, I am changing the way that I do my pricing for my video editing projects. I'm a video editor here in St. Louis, Missouri, if you're new to the channel, and I do a lot of project-based video production. I work with a lot of nonprofits and small to medium businesses. And one of the problems that I habitually run into is how do I price my editing? And it's also one of the most common questions I get when I talk about production on the channel. And historically, I've done two things. For a long time, I did sort of hourly pricing. And I didn't like that because the clients never understood what an hour was. If I said like, oh, this project will take 9 hours to edit, there would be someone who'd say like, can't you do it in 8? Can't you do it in 7? And if I was working on it for a while and I need an extra hour, it was really hard to be like, yeah, it took 9 hours. I need a 10th hour. I need a little bit more money. And so I didn't like that. I didn't like having to come back, having to estimate exactly how much a project would cost, or to not know and to ask them to just trust me that I'm billing them the right amount later on. So I didn't like hourly pricing. So for years, I've done project-based pricing. And what I try to do is come up with a generous estimate of what it'll cost. Usually, it ends up costing more than that, and I eat the averages, or I eat the overages. As an example, I may do a project and say it'll cost $5,000 to edit that project. I know, based on my previous work with them a lot of times, or similar projects, that it'll take several weeks, a few rounds of revisions to get this thing over the finish line. A lot of times, more problems happen that I wasn't anticipating, and it ends up costing more than that or taking more time than I expected. But because it's a project, I just say, well, the project was $5,000 for the editing, so we'll cap it there, and any overages I eat. And there have been a few cases where I've said it'll cost $7,500 to finish the project, and then when I finish it, turns out it took no time at all. And in those cases, I've been happy to tell my clients, I thought it would cost this, I'm billing you way less. And that exact thing happened this fall. I did a project for a children's museum here in St. Louis, and I had approval for $7,500, but it was a one-day shoot that I did myself. It was really quick and easy, and then the final video came together super fast. And so I think my final billable was less than $5,000 for it. People may say, like, why are you walking? They approved the money. Why would you walk away from that? But that transparency is important to me. And my clients trust me that I'm not going to overcharge them or gouge them, and that I do my best to earnestly guess what a project will cost and stay within those bounds if I can. And a lot of times I try to start with what is their budget and work backwards from there to say, well, what can we do editing-wise, and how much can we color? Do we want to shoot it in log because that's going to take more time to grade? Do you have the money for that? Is that not worth it? Those sort of things. I've talked a lot about pricing. What's new is I think I'm going to change how I even approach a project and editing it and the revision process. Right now, I usually offer 2 rounds of revisions to my clients. And we'll get into why that's a problem. But what my new approach is, this is inspired by something Sean Kirkland said to me. He's a producer I've worked with for the past couple of years. He and I have this budding relationship. And he was hiring some service that said, you have unlimited revisions for 7 days. And that seemed cool. And I wondered, could I do that with video? And the more I thought about it, the more I like the idea. And there's 3 reasons I really like this idea. And let me tell you why. Number one, let's create a hypothetical here. We're going to shoot with somebody on the 1st of the month. That's the shoot day. And then I say on the 14th, I'll give you a rough draft of the final video. And then we can say, how about the week of the 21st? We'll spend 5 days. You get 5 days with unlimited revisions. And so what this process would let them do is say, all right, we got our shoot day. We're going to be able to look at our rough draft for a week, make any notes, and then revisions will start on the 21st. And we'll make all the revisions and we'll upload them. And if there's more changes, then send them. We'll make the changes. We'll upload them again and again and again and again and again all week. You've got that. And the first thing I really like about this is it lets me plan my schedule. And as I have a few clients that always have fall projects with their fundraising galas and stuff like that, some of the non-for-profits, I know that there's going to be weeks in September and October that I need to dedicate to these things. And being able to say, this week, my full attention has been paid for by client A. That's liberating. And that allows me to look at my year and plan vacations and stuff. And if you're anything like me, if you're a freelancer, you may be planning a vacation and your client's just taking forever to get back. And finally they get back to you like 2 days before you're supposed to take off, or you've got something going on. And then you've got to say, well, I'm going on vacation this week. I'll get to it at the beginning of next month. I don't like those situations. And when you're when you're limited to the time that you get the feedback from your clients, it limits your whole schedule and what you can do. And you may have other projects that come up. And that's been my big struggle this past year is I've had one project that has stretched on for over a year now. And in October, we finished a project that took a year and a half. Neither of them were supposed to take that long. But what that meant is anytime that these clients got around to submitting their stuff for revisions or feedback, I have other projects going on, and now all of a sudden I'm juggling multiple things at the same time, which I don't want to do. And so it would let me schedule my time out and know what I'm working on. And they would essentially be buying my full attention for a week with editing, or my team's full attention for a week, or whatever that day. I'm using that as an example. It could be 3 days, could be 10 days, whatever we think the project is going to need. The other big thing is because we're picking this time where we've agreed that this is what's happening, it lets the client know that they should make that week a priority. And that's why we decide together in the first thing I like. We decide together when that is. And if they say, well, I'm going on vacation that week, or our supervisor is going to be out of town until the end, it's like, okay, well, let's not pick that time. Let's pick a time that works where you guys are going to be able to focus on getting these revisions in. Let's pick that time. So with that, it lets us plan so that the client knows, hey, this week is the week we paid for, and we had better be around and making this a priority. We knew this was coming for a month, and that amount of priority and efficiency is a huge contrast to what I deal with now. And again, I'm not faulting my clients for getting busy and for having things come up, and that's going to be a natural part of life, and we can always slide this around and be accommodating if the clients are being great to work with, as they typically are. But it makes this a priority that everyone can schedule, and to know that we are all working together this week to make this happen. And so please be available, because this is what you paid for. And that gets into the third piece that I really like about that is if for whatever reason you don't get around to this, you haven't made a priority as a client to get in and leave your revisions and your feedback, and knowing that we're going to be working on it this week, it's a lot easier for clients to understand, hey, our week expired. Like we had picked together, we chose this, we signed a contract for that week last week, and you just didn't send it on time. And normally, with the way I work, that's sort of my problem. It's like, well, they got to it when they got to it, and like, oh, we'll get you the feedback in the next couple of weeks. We'll see when the supervisor can look at it. And then I'm just on the hook for like, okay, well, how long is this project going to go? How long do I have to wait to get paid for delivering the final project because you're just dragging your feet and this isn't a priority for you? So by them understanding that this is a week that they paid for, it lets us also know that there's other clients who have paid for the next week and the week after that. And so if you miss your week, there's an understanding of like, hey, the attention that I gave you this week, I am giving to someone else next week. And so you understand that you either have to pay a lot of money more, or you have to wait until there's an opening in my schedule. And that transparency, I think, can go a long way to helping clients understand what is this process and how does their participation influence the final project. And the number of times I have clients ask, like, how long is it going to take to turn this around? I can usually say, hey, I can turn this around in 3 days. Where a project takes a month is client feedback, is waiting for that, is people saying, hey, can you pick a different song? Can we hear a different song? Hey, can we hear a different song? Hey, can you update our logo? We just changed our logo. And so with the revision-based model, one of the big problems is always like, okay, we did the rough draft, and then here's the first big round of revisions. We made cuts and stuff, and then we do a sort of a final candidate, and they make more cuts and revisions, and then we've got this final draft, 2 rounds of revisions done. But then there's these little things that, for me, it's usually not a big deal of like, oh, we updated our logo, or, oh, this person, they got promoted and their title changed. Can you fix that? And technically, that's a 3rd revision. That's past the 2 revisions. And a lot of these things are things they knew already in the first 2 revisions that they could have said then. And it doesn't seem like that big of a deal to change something. But with video, especially if you've got a lot of videos in a project, like one of our projects right now has 24 different videos to it. And so to change a logo means changing it 24 times, and any animations that would have to be in there, and then uploading and naming and filing and sharing links for it, and creating this whole structure, these logistics of sharing 24 videos. There is time there that it's easy to be like, well, that's just one revision. But it's like, yeah, but that's going to take 4 hours to go through all of these timelines, to do all of that, to iterate everything, to make sure everything's backed up. These things take time. And so by making it a finite week, if there's huge changes, they may take a day or two of that week. If there's little incremental changes, it may only take a half a day, but clients will start to understand that and say, you know, let's pack all of our revisions in here, because otherwise we're going to have to wait 3 days while they make these changes before another version is uploaded. And so I think this system is going to be incredible. And I know that, like any system, it will have blind spots that I don't know about yet. And I'm excited to learn by doing and see where this fails and see where clients try to take advantage of it and see which clients I won't work with anymore because of that. I'm looking forward to this and the amount of transparency and control it will give us. But really, the big thing is, with what I said in the beginning, people don't understand what an hour of editing is. And so it's tough to say, like, well, it's not taking 8 hours, it's taking 9 hours. And for them to say, you know, what is that? Is that really worth an extra? What are you going to do that's worth an extra $150 or whatever your hourly rate is? That's tricky, but it's really easy for someone to say, our dates were the 21st to the 25th, and I am sending you something on the 26th. And I get that that is not in the range that we agreed on. And so without having to flex on like, hey, I think we've done enough here, I think it's time to talk about more money, which I hate doing. Instead, it lets us be a little bit more, it lets other people be more understanding of like, oh, hey, we asked for a lot of stuff and you know that you are the only project we're working on this week. So we are dedicating full time to this and we're working efficiently. So if it's not done in the 3 days, it's because you asked for a lot of stuff. And it's okay to understand that. And maybe in the next project, instead of 5 days, we need 9 days, whatever that is. And so we will learn as we go through this, and I'm excited about that process. But I'm excited to give this a try and see what it does for my scheduling this next year. Now as a father of 2 and as someone involved in my community and trying to do things and take vacations occasionally, I don't want to take a laptop on a vacation again. And a lot of times I'm working against deadlines and people took too long and I have to plan my schedule around someone else's deadlines and when they slip. And this system would let me work way ahead of time to say, this is what we've got. This is what you've got. Can this work? If not, we're not a good fit, and that's fine. But if so, we're going to stick to this and work together to make this happen the best way for everybody. That's all I got. If you have any thoughts about this, any potential pitfalls you see in this, any silver linings that I haven't identified yet, I would love to know your thoughts because I'm fascinated by this and I think it's going to work really well for me and it may work really well for you. So if you've got any thoughts, please leave them in the comments. If you've tried this, please leave it in the comments or even reach out to me via email, but the comments let everybody see it. Thank you for watching. I'd love your feedback if you have any. Have a great day or night or whatever, wherever. See you later. Bye.